Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on another day where the news agenda is dominated by the European Super League. I don't think this is going to be going away anytime soon. I think pretty much every video from now until this thing gets started or it gets thrown into the dustbin where, in my opinion, it deserves to be. It's just going to be a constant talking point, and so much has happened since yesterday's video when I spoke to you. So much is probably going to happen throughout this day, and by the time you watch this video, maybe, who knows, huge developments would have happened. And please do stay tuned to my social media. I will continue to update my followers on anything that breaks throughout the day when it comes to Arsenal and the European Super League. So I thought I'd just pop on today, talk about what I know so far, what the fallout has been in the last 24 hours, what's been going on at Arsenal amid all this fallout and the really brutal reaction that this plan has received, and how it might affect Arsenal going forward. There's a few things in terms of how it might affect Arsenal immediately, and that really centres around the players first of all, and then centres around the upcoming semi-final against Villarreal. So we'll start with the players first of all, and information that I received yesterday that the players had been called in for meetings at London Colney yesterday. And obviously this broke on Sunday during the Fulham game. The news was sort of picking up steam, and then by the time the evening this statement came out and everything, and the players had gone home after the game against Fulham, and my information was that they did not know about this at all. This wasn't something that's been discussed that everyone at Arsenal knew about. Only a select few knew about it. There was legal issues that were binding them from talking and communicating with people, and so only a very select few people. The players were just as much in the dark as we were. They've heard what was going on Sunday through the news reports, that sort of thing, and then on Monday they were called into London Colney, where they were in discussions with Arsenal and the hierarchy about what is going on, where Arsenal trying to explain to them why they think this is the right thing to do for the club, and trying to put any of the players' concerns at ease. And there were plenty of concerns amongst the players, because we've seen all the threats that have been coming out from UEFA. Players are going to be banned from playing for their national teams if they play for these breakaway clubs. That's what UEFA is saying and threatening. And you think, for some of these players, imagine Kieran Tierney, what he's thinking. You're not going to meet a prouder Scotsman than Kieran Tierney. Absolutely dreamland in qualifying for this summer's Euros with Scotland. The opportunity to play against England at Wembley for Scotland in the Euros. I mean, for Kieran Tierney, it means everything. And then suddenly he's got this threat hanging over him now. So all those sort of players are going to be in that. Thomas Partey, players like that, so proud to play for his national team, suddenly has this threat of, you're not going to be able to play because of something your billionaire owner has decided over in the United States. So you can understand why players are really concerned about this, and they want their questions answered. And that was going on at Arsenal yesterday at London Colney. It wasn't being done by Stan Kroenke, surprise, surprise. He hasn't flown over. He hasn't put himself in the firing line or anything like that. He's staying over in the United States. And it was down to Vinay Venkatesham, the CEO, who yesterday obviously resigned from his position on the board of the ECA, the European Clubs Association. He was the main guy sort of filling in the details about what was going on at the club and answering the players' questions. Mikel Arteta's press conference was due to be on Wednesday. It's now going to be on Thursday ahead of the Everton game, speaking at 10 a.m. Going to be very interesting to get his views on it. Or what will he have to say? What's his discussions with the players? What have they been like in the last couple of days? We saw what happened at Liverpool yesterday. They played Leeds. The reaction from the fans outside the ground, absolutely making their feelings clear towards the Liverpool players. And you kind of feel sorry for the players in all of this, because it's nothing to do with them. They're just unfortunate enough at the time to play for these clubs who have decided to go down this route. The owners aren't going to stand up and take the flak. Like I said, Stan Kroenke's not coming over from America. He's staying exactly where he is. So it's the players and Mikel Arteta who are going to have to face all the criticism. Arteta's the face of Arsenal. He's the guy who gets put up in front of the press every week. He's the person who's going to have to deal with these questions throughout. I mean, Thursday's press conference, you're going to not even realise there's a game against Everton on Friday night, because you can just tell already virtually every single question is going to be about the Super League. And that's what Arteta's going to have to deal with now. We saw how it got to Jurgen Klopp yesterday after the Liverpool game at Leeds, the 1-1 draw. Klopp clearly not happy, clearly snapped a few things. Gary Neville's comments, what happened with the fans outside Leeds with their T-shirts that they trained in before the game, saying you have to earn it, and they were offering, if they put them in the Liverpool changing room, offering them if the chance to wear it. That obviously got to Klopp. And That's the issue here. The players and the managers and the staff. I just feel I feel really sorry for them in a way, because they're the guys who are going to have to stand up in front of the cameras and take all the flack, not the people who have been having these clandestine meetings behind closed doors for the last few months to get the plan to this point. Certainly the American owners over here aren't going to say anything. I've seen Florentino Perez at Real Madrid's been speaking. I'll get to that in a minute. But in terms of Stan Kroenke, I mean, never talks at the best of times. You might get a flimsy statement on the Arsenal website, or even a video, carefully produced PR video that goes on the Arsenal website detailing things, but he'll never sit down in front of the press and take questions. He'll just leave that for the likes of Mikel Arteta and the players, and I feel really sorry for him in that regard. So yeah, that's what happened at London Colney yesterday. Like I said, Mikel will be speaking to us on Thursday. It'll be very interesting to hear his thoughts on the whole thing. Will he go all out against it? Will he toe the party line? Jurgen Klopp yesterday certainly didn't exactly toe the party line. He made it clear that he doesn't like the idea. James Milner did as well. Klopp also saying this isn't going to make him resign from Liverpool, because he feels that he has a sort of feeling of responsibility over the team. He doesn't want to walk away because of this. And it'll be very interesting to hear exactly what Mikel has to say about it as well, and his thoughts on the owners. Stan Kroenke, it really doesn't surprise me. We haven't heard anything from Stan Kroenke yet. Like I said, I'm not expecting anything. If anything does come, it will be, like I said, quotes on the website or a carefully produced PR video where he's not being grilled, where he's just spewing out the facts that we've heard elsewhere at the moment about this decision. It's been so roundly criticised. I'm really intrigued to know if there are any nerves jangling in these 12 clubs about what they've done and the route that they've decided to go down. Ollie Holt at the Daily Mail last night tweeted that he'd heard a couple of clubs were wavering, English clubs were wavering. I haven't heard anything to do with that. I do wonder if it might well be Chelsea or Manchester City. They're the two that really spring to mind that might be the ones, because I think the American owners are the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United are all in for this. Real Madrid are certainly all in for it. And Florentino Perez has been saying that it's all being done to save football. Here's some quotes he's had during a chat he had with Spanish TV yesterday. He said, "We are doing this to save football at this critical moment. If we continue with the Champions League, there is less and less interest, and then it's over. The new format, which starts in 2024, is absurd, and we are all dead." Those are the words of Florentino Perez about it. He's doubled down. He said everyone signed an agreement last Saturday. There's no backing out of it now between the 12 clubs who have all signed an agreement. There's no backing out of it. That's what he's had to say about that. So it'll be interesting if anyone does get a little bit of itchy feet when it comes to the 12 clubs who are involved and what legally binding things they have signed over it. I think in terms of where we are, like I said, in terms of Arsenal, how this is going to affect them immediately, I've talked about the players, and that's going to be a big issue. How's it going to affect them on the pitch week in, week out now with this hanging over their heads? There's going to be protests at the Emirates on Friday. I think there's going to be meetings from about 6 p.m. outside the ground with fans. We don't know how big they're going to be yet, but they could end up being big. They could end up disrupting the game even. We don't know what's going to be happening outside the stadium when the match is going on, what we're going to be hearing. So that can have an effect on the players in terms of match results between now and the end of the season. Also, you think what it's going to do. Everton have just put out absolutely fantastic statement. Please do go and find it if you haven't read it yet. You just wonder the motivation this is going to give to the to players at clubs like Everton. It's going to make Arsenal, every single game Arsenal play now between the end of the season, is going to be extremely difficult, I think, because we're going to see so much motivation and anger from the players and the clubs that they are playing against. And in terms of the Europa League, it could mean, well, we'll have to wait and see what it means. But there are threats at the moment from UEFA that Arsenal and any clubs left in UEFA competitions could be thrown out as early as the next couple of days. So that would basically hand PSG the Champions League title if that was the case, because Manchester City would be kicked out, Chelsea would be kicked out, and Real Madrid would be kicked out of the Champions League semi-finals. It would mean that Arsenal, Manchester United would be kicked out of the Europa League semi-finals, which means it would be a final between Villarreal and Roma. Now, Alexander Seferin has been speaking about this. He said, "We're still assessing with our legal team, but we will take all the sanctions that we can and we will inform you as soon as we can." My opinion that as soon as possible they have to be banned from all our competitions and the players banned from all our competitions. UEFA and the football world stand united against disgraceful and self-serving proposal we have seen in the last 24 hours for a select few clubs in Europe motivated by greed. We are all united against this nonsense. So he's very much saying there that UEFA are desperately trying to get an agreement done and checking out through legal avenues whether these clubs can be thrown out of Europe. So if that is the case, that's going to obviously immediately affect Arsenal because it's going to rob them of their chance of going on and winning the Europa League. And I would say going on and qualifying for the Champions League, but in reality, that really doesn't matter anymore because if this is going to start as early as August, which Florentino Perez hopes it might, if not, it'll be delayed only a further year, then it really doesn't matter because the whole thing about getting into the Champions League for Arsenal is, getting the money that's going to bring in and helping them sign players and try and compete again. But if they're going to be in this competition anyway and they're going to just be handed this huge amount of money to join it, it really takes away from the whole jeopardy that Villarreal gets. So yes, there is still a trophy on the line and we all want to win a trophy. But the fear of losing, the tension of losing, all of that sort of thing is going to just almost disappear, and the game's going to feel so much more worthless than it really should. And I've been really looking forward to this Villarreal semi-final because there's so much on it for Arsenal. There was so much on it for Arsenal. You also had the backstory of Unai. It was a classic feeling of a semi-final, and now suddenly it's just, to me, it's beginning to feel all a little bit hollow. Florentino Perez, meanwhile, talking about the statements that made there by UEFA and Ceferin about throwing teams out of the competitions. He says that is absolutely not going to be the case. He said it will not happen. The law protects us. We will not get into legal issues, but it is impossible. The players should remain calm because the threats won't happen. This is no league for the rich. It's a league to save football. Save football makes me laugh. And I hate the way they've used the pandemic as an excuse. Sorry, I'm going a bit off tangent here, but I hate the way they're using the pandemic as an excuse for this league and why it needs to be done to save football because financiers are in trouble. Financiers are in trouble long before the pandemic. Financiers are in trouble because the top clubs like Arsenal, like Real Madrid, have spent their money terribly. They've spent it. They've paid far too much wages to players. They've let it spiral to this position. The money they've got in the transfer market, on the whole, they've spent terribly, certainly at Arsenal. And that's why they're in this financial issues. That's why it's not just because of the pandemic. You can't just blame the pandemic. It's because your financial model of these clubs are terrible and they've allowed wages to completely spiral out of control. So please don't blame the pandemic when you're talking about the financial issues that are currently affecting football because it's way beyond that. Anyway, that's just my little rant on that issue, on that one. And so that's kind of where we are in terms of what Arsenal are facing in the immediate future when it comes to this Super League. The threat certainly centred around the players and how they're feeling. Could players even get together and players' unions get together and even go on strike about this? We saw James Milner yesterday in Liverpool after the Liverpool game talking very strongly about it, saying that he doesn't want it to happen. They're getting pulled into this by the owners. The players aren't involved in it. They're just suddenly they're kind of the pawns in the whole thing. They're the ones that the whole new Super League is going to be based around, and what the whole business model is based around these fantastic matches between the top clubs, between the top players week in, week out. So they're almost just being used by these billionaire owners as the pawns. And they could easily turn around and say, no, hold on, we don't want to be a part of this, and look to take some sort of action themselves, whether it be a strike, I don't know. And that's just me just putting ideas out there. I don't think I've not heard anything like that is going to happen. But it's just the case we're in. It's all a big mess. It's just a really unfortunate situation. Like I say, I'm not against change. I'm not against clubs doing something that they think is going to be exciting. But in this one, the way this has come out, the way it's been thrown on us without any sort of facts, just a really awful, crappy press release that was put out. No comments on it from Stan Kroenke or anything like that. You're getting comments from Glazier on the Arsenal website and nothing from the owner itself, with no real facts. We're told, and I speak to people at Arsenal yesterday, we're talking about it. They believe that this is going to bring stability to football. They reckon it's going to help the European pyramid, that the clubs involved are going to filter down 3 times as much money throughout the European period that is currently done, and that's how it's going to bring stability. I think the figure that I was told was something like €3 million. Let me see if I've got. I think I wrote it down. Yeah, 10. There you go. 10 billion over 23 years. That's the sort of figures that these clubs believe is going to be filtered down to the European pyramid by the 12 super clubs. But how is that going to happen? No one can say. There's no facts behind this. We just believe in these little sort of tidbits, statements that are put out with no real facts. And I just think that's almost the biggest, one of the biggest disgraces of it all, is that this huge thing has been launched, but no one's told us anything about it, how it's going to work, how the money's going to work, who's going to be funding it, where's the money coming from. We hear JP Morgan are involved and they're financially backing it. What about the TV deals? There's no facts, there's no figures. It's just all very much up in the air, and that's why I just feel it's just a really unfortunate situation. And like I said, it's going to rumble on. By the time you're even watching this video today, I'm sure it would have moved on at pace. We'll have had more statements. The government are involved. Everyone's involved. It's a really messy situation. So trying to keep a handle on it all is very, very difficult. As I said yesterday, please do let me know what you think about this. It's a shame that I've spent a whole video talking about this and I'm not talking about football. It's a big game, or should it be a big game for Arsenal coming up on Friday. We should be trying to find out about what's happening with Alexander Lacazette at the moment and his injury. But it's just, everything is dominated by this, and it's impossible not to be, because it is so huge. Anyway, that's it for me, today's video. Apologies, it's a little bit ranty, but that's kind of how I'm feeling about it all at the moment. Please do, as I say, let me know your feelings, your thoughts on the whole situation. Are you in support of it? Are you against it? Let me know in the comments below. Until tomorrow, everyone have a very good day. I'll speak to you very, very soon.